Welcome to the Promise Podcast, where we discuss how brands can deliver on their promise with a great customer experience and business impact. I'm your host, Harald Lamberts, and in each episode, I talk to business executives, thought leaders, and founders about how to achieve effective collaboration across departments, such as brand, marketing, product development, customer experience, and support, all with one goal in mind: a seamless customer journey with great business results. So today we're speaking with Paulo Rodrigues, the Chief Digital Transformation Officer of SHV Energy. Welcome, Paulo.
Thank you so much, Harald. Pleasure to talk to you.
Looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for being on the show.
Same here.
Before we dive in and do the proper introduction, we always start with one question that we ask every guest: is what is your personal favorite brand and why? And what is it that they do that they really, deliver on that promise?
Yeah, I would say I would have my personal brand. I would say that really stick to my mind, and that probably most of people would recognize is Apple, for the enlightened customer experience that they offer, from the unboxing experience up to the day-to-day. And I am, I would say, a user of Apple since the generation one, and I must admit that I tried here and then to go for Google, Android, and different device, because Samsung sounds quite more customer-centric than Apple in that time for new functionalities, cutting-edge technology. Here and then, the real, true delivery of what they promise comes to Apple. So that the experience, you get what you expected, is something that really sticks to me. If you allow me, Harold, also, because thinking recently in a brand that wouldn't be obvious to my mind, but I recognize the value of that brand and how they really try to do the utmost better customer centricity approach is Le Creuset. So it's a cookware French company. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a chef. I don't cook myself. I'm a good eater. My wife is a good cooker. And why that brand comes to my mind when talk about if there is a company that I never realized how important is the customer on their value proposition, is a cookware type of company, right? For me, pans are pans, and you just need to cook. And it's about the ingredients, not the device. However, recently I learned from my wife and from my own experiences that, yes, the cookware makes difference in the whole meal, the quality of the meal, and how they address their customers is quite unique. So, of course, they're expensive. So that was my first resistance to say, why so special? Is too much money for the value that they deliver. Then I start to pay attention, what are the value that they promise, and do they deliver to that value? And I must confirm now, and I'm a witness of they do deliver. So one is a high premium quality cookware because they deliver in the quality of the products, but also the after sales itself is amazing. They do promise a lifetime warranty in their cookwares. And I also said, yeah, that's never going to happen. After 5 years, how are we going to claim that? And we at home had this experience last year. One of the cookwares, the pan started to show a bit of rust in the side of the pan itself. And then I always make joke with my wife. I said, yeah, you see, all the cookwares will fail. And said, but they have a lifetime warranty. I said, I don't believe in that. And she called the customer service itself and surprised the guys without further questions. Said, no problem, bring to one of our stores whatever you are. But I said, but that cookware we bought 5 years back in Brazil. I said, now we live in Netherlands for the past years. So no problem. Find the closest store of Le Creuset, and they will have an assessment and they will fix your problem. Intrigued by that easy response, I said, let's go through the process. And surprisingly, and even in Apple, I didn't get such a kind of a customer experience. We went there, and the attendant gave zero trouble questions, just, okay, that's the problem. How you prefer? You prefer a new one? You want us to send this to fix this? Whatever is easy for you guys. Long story short, I come back with a brand new cookware to replace that one that was showing some signals of rust in the cable. That's it. It's really, for me, remarkable. And I rest my case to my wife. I said, yeah, we pay more but it worked.
And I'm sure as a global executive, you appreciate how much it takes internally to organize all this, because
Absolutely.
it's easier said than done. Yeah, like you can promise something like this, but to really make sure that all the people in the front lines are trained to respond like this is a massive effort. Yeah? So I'm sure you appreciate what it takes to get to that level of quality.
And that for me was the biggest value comes out of that. From my wife, the value brought was she got a new cookware that she was aiming to have at home, right?
Yeah.
For me, wasn't that. The truly appreciated moment was from the touch points to be in another country, that you call to the global customer service. The response was effectively and very friendly as you can imagine. And then you go to a store that has zero revenue history with me. We never bought something in that store in a new country. The attendant did not even question that. Have you ever bought with us? No. Here is the promise that they have been claimed that they would give. They gave no matter which country, and the experience was really seamless. And as executive, I was just a thing behind of my mind. What if I purchase a cylinder, a gas cylinder in Brazil, and I promise a lifetime cylinder recovery for that customer, and that no matter which country he will reach out, he will get the premium quality service. That's not easy to achieve.
I mean, in most companies, you can immediately imagine the discussions that happen in terms of cost targets and revenue targets, and who's going to pay for this, and do we cross charge, and like all these kind of questions.
Exactly.
So to hide all that to the customer and take care of that internally and not bother the customer with that, that's real class.
That's
it's a great example.
It's not easy to get. And that's why I make the comparison, because in Apples, we all have experience and we all know there is a profitability driven out of that experience. And that, if you purchase the Apple Care, you're going to get a good service. But if you're not, it's your fault. You fell with the phone in the floor. Yeah, bad luck for you. With the cookware, simple things, I would say that even if it's my fault, they didn't ask it. But did you let this cookware or this pan fell in the floor? You didn't ask it.
Wonderful. And I think also for you and your wife, I don't have to ask, I think, but the customer loyalty for this brand is kind of like tick in the box.
Yeah, from her perspective, I think was so satisfied because I was the one always complaining, why you need to have this whole cookware from this same brand because it's much more expensive and just to fry an egg. Come on, any brand would work. But now I must admit they hook me. I also believe there is a value that you can capture out of that investment.
It's a wonderful example. I mean, this is why we call this podcast the Promise Podcast. Is like if you deliver on the promise, then that's how you achieve real customer loyalty in the end. Yeah. So like it's great to promise things in marketing, but if you don't deliver on it post purchase, it's a risk. It's hard to achieve lasting customer loyalty. Yeah. So thanks for that example, Paulo. Very good example. Now then, let me properly introduce you, because we always start with this question to make it interesting straight away and get some content in there. But let me introduce you briefly, and then maybe you can talk through how you got into this position and also. So Paulo Rodrigues has been a part of SHV Energy for over 10 years, I noticed, or at least 10 years I noticed on LinkedIn. And since 2021 also as a board member, leading digital transformation efforts, and also as a CIO, I understand, but also customer excellence, being part of this digital transformation as the whole way of working, I guess, for all the different operating countries. And in that, he's also driving his global CX program from a board level perspective to make sure that the customer centricity can be a lasting competitive advantage for SHV Energy operating countries. And this is also how we met, Paulo, of course, because from a sense we help realize that CX global program. But it's great to have you on the show for that reason, also to get you to reflect on, the importance of customer experience and customer centricity, and rolling that out as really a capability in the different countries. And also your leadership in there has been invaluable for driving this forward. Yeah, with that, thanks for coming onto the show. Can you maybe also add to that a little bit as to, if you reflect on those 10 years, how did you get into this, and then maybe move in towards like what was the trigger for you to initiate this global CX program?
Yeah, good point. Once again, Harold, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really pleased to to share a little bit what is the SHV Energy experience and why we are doing this and how we are doing this. And the most recent, of course, being supported by you guys, a sense in this CX journey, as we call it. We don't call this as a project, but it's really a journey that we firmly and consciously decided to embark. And then we are looking forward each step in that journey that we believe that will add value to us. Just to complement your introduction, so actually I'm even a bit longer at SHV family. I'm called a family member of SHV more than 16 years. So I started one of the operating companies back in Brazil in macro. So wholesale business is a kind of what's my background comes and my passion comes from the B2C, B2B type of market. And there I think also start to justify a little bit, even when I was at the macro, I was, my background is in technology, innovation, and I was the CIO of Macro Brazil, Marks of America. And I was always fascinated how technology could impact and transform the experience of our customers, but also from our employees. That is my drive from data, digital, and innovation. And then I start to see in the wholesale business how important it is, the customer experience itself. Because in the end of the day, we sell commodity products and we need to compete for the best price. But in the end of the day, you need to find your differentiator factor. And for me, the customer experience and the promise that we have to the customer is something that we can make ourselves unique. So if you frame the right promise and you deliver up to that standard, then you are unique to that market because your promise is your promise and only you can deliver up to that. Forward looking, so I'm living now already in Netherlands. So I moved from Brazil to Netherlands back in time 10 years. So I'm living in Netherlands for 10 years. I've been part of the holdings looking from the digital point of view from all the groups in terms of how we can support the groups in their digital journey. And as you mentioned, for the past 3 years, I was invited to be part of the management board of SHV Energy. And then my journey really started with initially the lens of how digital and technology could contribute to our SHV Energy. And then after 1 year that evolves, I would say, grateful to the opportunity that my colleagues in the board gave me to enlarge beyond the digital and the technology, but to the truly digital transformation. And transformation goes beyond the digital. I think digital is an enabler and a catalyst, but there is no, I would say, ambition of SHV Energy to become the most digital organization in the world. That's not our target.
Exactly.
That is not something that we are striving to do. But we do believe through the digital and the most important the transformation capability that we believe that are critical to enrich the customer experience, we will unlock the value that is still locked at SHV Energy itself. And that comes a little bit the journey when we start to combine the digital transformation. What comprising transformation are? We have the ambition to drive operation excellence. Whatever we do, we want to achieve the excellence level. And that we need to do our service in an excellent way, which means operational. We need to know how we distribute our gas, how we bottling our gas, how we really have an optimal operational to deliver to that promise. On the other hand, we also want to become more and more profitable because we are not an NGO. So we need to have the excellence level in the commercial aspect. So how I can really understand the nuance of price elasticity, how I can maximize my profitability towards our products, how I can have a lower churn rates with my customers and so on. And that combination, which is commercial and operational, driven by the generally ambition to, I would say, excel in the promise that we do for our customers, that for me become the unique, that customer experience must be the drivers, must be the kind of the peak of our journey. If we really deliver to the promise of an enriched customer experience through commercial and operation excellence driven by data and digitalization, then it's the best ways that we can increase the chance to succeed in the promise of our customer experience itself and become a customer centricity organization.
100%.
That's evolved our journey the way that I pitched after the first year. I was very excited to lead the digital technology domain, but I said that to lead the technology things is not going to be the impact that we need in this organization. So the driver for us was how we can become more customer centricity organization. And if we really deliver to the promise to our customers, I would ultimately be more excellent what I do commercially, operational, and to be excellent, I need to be data driven. It's not about gut feeling. Do you like me? And what? Okay, what's the artifacts that I can really see to show that okay, my baseline is here. That's what I'm going to improve, and how I'm going to measure. That's the data. Digital components start to play a very crucial role on us, and then we see that slowly but matured, evolving that direction. Some business units already start to, I would say, not only embrace, but also embed that in their way of working. It's not a project, as I mentioned. It's really a journey. And they are seeing this is the only way to strive in the future.
Yeah, there are real capabilities. I mean, really capabilities that you have to install. And it's great. I like how you phrase that, because ultimately commercial excellence, operational excellence, and customer excellence cannot be separate things. They completely go hand in hand. I mean, the customer ultimately pays the bills, so you should care about them. And then, of course, the better you understand them, the more relevant your commercial offer can be. And the better you deliver on them, the more efficient your delivery can be. And then I think if you can cost save on the operational side, and you can increase the loyalty and revenue on the commercial side, then and combine it with a great experience, then really that wheel can influence each other. And then you get. And this is also why I like one of the things you mentioned when the first time we met is your passion also for this whole continuous improvement capability.
Exactly.
To constantly learn and improve and optimize. And I think at the time you were mostly still thinking of process optimizations, but now I think we've also really, in our efforts, really continuous improvement is as much a customer thing as a process thing. Yeah, it's like in both aspects, you can continuously learn and improve, and they actually go hand in hand. Yeah, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
I like the way that you already summarized it, because I think that's definitely the way that I believe. I would say the magic triangle for us in our strategies, we do want to really have the best customer experience, what is possible, aligned to our promise. But if I just having a wonderful customer experience, but with a very, I would say, basic or even not a good profitability, so the commercial aspect itself, I will not fulfill the promise to my shareholders. I need to, of course, to deliver to the results and the ambitions, short and long term, commercially itself for profitability. And I cannot get the max of the profitability if I don't have an excellent operation itself. So that for me is the magic triangle. I need to strive to get the best customer experience as possible, as long that go hand in hand with the max excellence commercial approach that I can get, and with the excellence operational execution that we can have. That for me is the magic of this triangle. One is directly linked to each other. So I do not see a way to disconnect. Okay, now let's just focus this year in all about the experience for the customers. I would get the best experience ever. That for me, in my mind, in our strategy, does not work. Should be very tightly connected to how we're going to progress the customer experience alongside progressing my operational excellence performance, my operational deliveries, and how I, at the same time, can improve my commercial excellence itself. And that comes to the hint that you gave me. The only way to progress equally in these three dimensions is through the mindset that we need to host and hold is the continuous improvement. We should never be satisfied if we get the highest NPS ever. So that is a good indication, is a good, I would say, direction that we're moving. But we should have that, I would say, natural ambition and the thirst for more. And that comes the continuous improvement, the lean background. I started focus, our process should be very lean, very instrumental to what we want to do. But at the same time, Harold, it's beyond the process. It's about people, it's about everything. How we can increase the accountability of the employees and not talk about only leadership. If you want to achieve the excellent level, commercial operation, and ultimately to reach the pinnacle of the customer experience, we need to have the front line embracing and owning the accountability of continuous doing better. If they deliver something good today, that's really good. But what great looks like for tomorrow? What I will do differently to further, I would say, the bar for the day after. And that I think this is more a way of thinking, a way of living. If we really harness that, and that doesn't mean that we are there yet. I think we are in a movement to get more and more believers that, okay, continuous improvement will influence us to reach that pinnacle. And I think the side effect that we try to build up this cultural is also trying to be more innovative. We do have a very traditional business. Huh? We distribute LPG. We can make this as fancy as we want, but in the end of the day, it's a commodity product that is very important to the society in specific articles, SKUs, bottles, cylinders, tanks, and we need to distribute that safely to the end consumers itself. And doing that, we need also continuous to not try to only keep doing as we are doing, but how we can innovate the way that we're doing to be more efficient, to be more effective to the customer. And that combination, innovation, continuous improvement, for me are the real powerful combination, the catalyst to help this triangle, customer experience, commercial, operation, to excel. That's the way that
I think, as you say, commodity, and also if you want to avoid only competing on price, it is super important that your quality of service and also responsiveness of your support, for example, teams, and also delivery flexibility to clients, all that kind of stuff, everything that is important to a customer, that you can please them and meet their needs. Because then if a competitor or whatever would be slightly cheaper, they wouldn't move that quickly, because they also, reliability and trust is super important to them, of course. So I think that's where you can really create customer loyalty and a competitive advantage that is more robust than and not so vulnerable in a competitive market. So
absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. One of the things you also mentioned, of course, is the different countries that you are enabling from a global level. Some of your countries are really early, are really growth markets, and other markets are much more mature and more loyalty-focused markets. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, how that changes this capability building? Like, how do you respond to that? It's not a one-size-fits-all approach across all the markets. Like, can you elaborate a little bit on that? How you look on that?
I think it is more than I'm not sure what comes first, because to be honest, we can't justify that we decided to go for capability building up instead of one size fits all, and this is the approach, and guys, let's get on board. Because of our operating model, we are an organization that operates in a decentralized way around 20 plus countries worldwide. Operating a decentralized organization means that the real true impact comes as close as possible to the customer. So we are an organization that we are still, although I call it SHV Energy, we are operated with several different brands locally. And for example, if even I go back to my country, my own country, Brazil, and I talk to my own parents and say, I work for SHV Energy, they said, what do you do? But if I ask, do you know Supergas Brás? I said, oh, obviously. Is our cylinders that we use for cooking or using for barbecue, these kind of things. They do recognize, have a lot of proud recognition in the local brand. Supergas Brás for them means something. There is a story behind, there is a meaning behind of that brand. And if I tell that, but the Supergas Brás is part of SHV Energy, I work for SHV Energy, I didn't know that. So, and for us, it's generally driven by that. We do want to get this connection with the customer as close as possible, meaning that operating a decentralized way was the best way that we found to create a very valuable relationship with our customers, instead of having a global brand that the people rarely recognize. We do realize that we have a very strong brands in several markets, which we call it, they are very mature market. We have a very strong market position, but also we are exploring and we are developing brands and the value proposition in certain markets that the maturity is still low. Not only from market share point of view, but also from the brand perspective. What our promise to that market? What's the maturity required, and what's the promise that we can give to that market? In some cases, very matured market is all about the experience itself, from the digital, paperless onboarding up to delivery of the gas. In other, the opposite way, they just want a really good customer service, traditional analog, with a good call center that if they call, 30 seconds, you pick up the call. So that was, I think, one of the drivers for us. We said, we cannot drive CX from the global point of view.
It's important. I mean, of course, if you're Starbucks or if you're McDonald's, then this is super important. Huh? You want to be everywhere in the world. You want to have the same experience, and the consistency is key there. But in your case, B2B, local brands, this is less important than meeting quality standards on a local level.
meeting the local requirements, because there are markets, to be honest, that the quality standards is very low, and we are helping the energy transition in some market. I will name one of them that's quite emblematic. We entered that market back 3 years time when I joined SHV Energy in Bangladesh. So we are really introducing LPG solution over there and our products as a very affordable, safe and security products to migrate it from solid fuels like wood, like coal. So the people are still using this very solid or even oil to cook, which is for environment point of view is terrible. From safety point of view is very dangerous. And we are introducing that to the market. So then our value and our promise as a customer is we have a safe products that you can rely and will be healthier for you, for the environment.
Really important. I think it's really important because I think it just means then basically that you're seeing customer centricity as a competitive advantage, but
Absolutely.
not necessarily a global brand, a consistent global experience, because each market has their own competitive
expectations, competitive advantage,
and also customer needs and expectations. So it is actually, in your case, and you're not Starbucks, you're not McDonald's, so the global brand experience is not so relevant and not so strategically relevant. It's more like having the best possible experience meeting the customer needs in each market.
In each market
is basically then a global performance standard strategy, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So does that mean you leave every country and every brand to kind of tailor how they apply customer centricity for them to decide, and you more enabling the capability from a global level? Is that how it works, or how do you see that?
Yeah, I think it's a good perspective, because the idea is the following. Because we operated and we do want a high accountability at the local market, so we have our brands and our business unit very accountable and responsible to deliver to their promise to the customers and so on. That was the driver for us to say, okay, first we need to educate and demonstrate how a customer centricity approach would be important for them, not only in the short term, but also in the long term, to go higher in terms of loyalty and so on. And then we need to start to leverage on the scale. So we should not reinvent the wheel and try to figure out what customer centricity means and what customer experience, commercial and operational excellence means in each one of the 25 countries that we operated. Exactly. So then global approach start to, okay, that makes sense. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's set a bit of what are the guidelines, what are the standards that we want to, from maybe convention point of view, what means critical KPIs for customer experience. Do we have them? What would be the logical ones to standardize? And why would it be important to start to measure? Because some countries do not even measure. So why we need to measure? So that from global point of view, we said that we can really added value. We need to define this common language, the common methodology, and enable a framework that every country, respect their maturity, they can step in and say, okay, that sounds interesting. I do believe as well, but I need to have certain flexibility to adjust, to adapt to their market circumstance, either market share or whatever. And that they start to become a powerful global capability building mechanism, but is driven by the local.
So and this is super important, Paulo. I think so many companies get this wrong because they say, oh, this works, let's do this everywhere. And it's just, it's a bit stupid, to be honest. I think if you're really, you be intelligent, it's like, okay, let's see how we can leverage what we learned here elsewhere, but never forget the contextual specifics of that market, so that you always tailor. And I think you guys are doing this really well to make sure, hey, the capabilities and the learnings you can leverage everywhere, but make sure you adapt them properly to what is needed and what is actually achieving a competitive advantage in that specific market. So I think
well captured, Harold. And for me, what I can already witness and share, I'm a firm believer of that. I need also to convince my colleagues, and was very easy because they understood. Because of course, the other side or a different angle can say, yeah, but Paulo, doing this in this global approach, but depend of the business unit to one, understand and adapt to their needs might take too long, which is true. That's the downside. Going that journey will be eventually a much longer journey to be walked through. Then, no, this is the template, guys. This is the way that you implement it. This is your time frame. Do it. I think we could be much faster if we have a global approach and we dictated that to all the 20 business units. However, I would say that I don't believe that would stick as the way that we are doing. I firmly believe in the long term. We will stick and will be fully owned by the countries. And then will be much more long impact driven than, yeah, this year might be suboptimal impact, but in 5 years, 10 years time, that will be our way of operate and work.
I think that's spot on. I mean, there's no shortcut to loyalty.
No.
So I think there, if you people say, oh, let's do that everywhere, then actually rolling out the capability becomes the goal. And it's not the goal, it's the instrument. Yeah. So like the goal, of course, is customer loyalty and customer lifetime value. So I think, yeah, there's no shortcut to loyalty. I think you need to build the right capabilities. Also, if you want to make it scalable, it's important, of course, that each country is self-sufficient in this and can actually learn to constantly improve, continuously improve their own offering and processes, because you can never dictate that from a global level, I think. So I think that's
exactly. And I could recollect a very interesting chat that we had with you and your team about the NPS itself. Yeah. I think NPS in this organization, that was my biggest trick. We do measure NPS, all business units. We have kind of a yearly NPS that we compare business unit and so on, which it is an important metric to be followed up. But it's so easy to trick such an NPS in a yearly base. I could, if I just pursue, I want to improve my NPS, that's my target. Every country, irrespective of the maturity, they can trick the system to get a very sky-high rocket results in 1 year. The big question, how, I would say, sustainable that result would become is very, very challenging, because you can do some shortcuts here and then, and you get the surveys and how customers are satisfied. But it's spot on. Next year, you cannot keep it at that promise or to that service level.
There's actually a second reason, Paulo. I think that's a very good reason. One is that the NPS is very easy to trick. It's very easy to kind of like. But the second reason is NPS doesn't really tell you very much. If you believe in continuous improvement, you don't know what to improve, because you only have one number, but you have no idea whether you can still improve in customer service or in marketing. I mean, it's like you're giving a child in high school a grade, but you don't tell them how to improve further. And and I think this is for continuous improvement. You need to know, and this is what we also really believe in, have multiple metrics at different levels along the entire customer journey, because then you know where are we doing well and where can we still improve.
Areas to improve, exactly.
And then you get this continuous improvement engine, and your teams really going, because they can data-driven constantly identify where the next gain is to be made. And then, of course, balance the commercial, operational, and customer excellence elements that you mentioned in the beginning. So I think...
No, I to say that the NPS will be an important valid metric, but as a more kind of a side effect result than a purposely driven improved NPS. That's not our goal. I think we will see, if we do all the steps as you mentioned correctly, we will see that naturally improving the loyalty, the profitability, the customer overall satisfaction, and so on. But I think it's more the cultural shift that we are trying to create first, for them to own the agenda and the importance to have the customer experience as one of the top leading strategy pillars of our strategy itself. And second, we need to start to be very more mindful. What are the criteria and domains that we need to start to monitor in a more granular way?
Exactly.
Because one number is not going to tell the story. It's just a snapshot is a snapshot. You know, you have it in a picture, but you don't understand the movie. You need to get...
You actually don't, you're not enabling the teams to improve further. And you're only giving them a rate, actually, basically. So I think one of the things we also always say is it's not bad to use NPS. I mean, we actually recommend... It's only bad if you only use NPS. So it's the only thing, then it's not sufficient. But it's nobody's saying don't use it, because I think on a market level, it still gives you a good impression as a brand loyalty indicator compared to your competitors. But for internal purposes, to improve your service offering, it is too high over.
It's not enough. I fully agree. Yeah,
exactly.
It's one of the important indicative figures that you get, but it cannot be the only one. Otherwise, you fool yourself.
But it's a starting point. I think it's a starting point to get at least leadership in each of the countries to care about customers. And then it's important to then delegate it further and enable your teams with more specific metrics that they can actually control.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like operationalizing the customer-centric way of working. But if you stop at NPS, then then you're not enabling your teams to actually do what you want to achieve. And that's what I really like what you guys are doing, is really enabling also with country pilots and projects to really enable the teams to achieve measurable results and measure that impact, to then show to the other countries how you achieve that and see how you can leverage that best practice to roll it out on a global level.
And one thing that I really like in our early engagement, Harold, that your team brought, I think we already had an idea, but maybe we did not have the mindset how important and the crucial would be for us is to get really the customer journey properly mapped. Because again, we say NPS is one of the snapshot that you capture in a certain moment in time for a specific point of the journey itself, which could be very high. But if you look at the other 10 steps of the customer from the onboarding up to the gas delivery itself, there are several elements that we need to understand. Do the customer are really satisfied and loyal to me because of the whole experience, or I just measure either the entry point or the end point, and then I fool myself and say, no, they're happy or they are unhappy. So I think you guys helped us to, we need to be more mindful. Do we know end-to-end journey of a customer? Which level of granularity we do understand, and how we measure the satisfaction of customer through the entire journey, end-to-end?
Exactly, and especially if you become a big company, then you have many different departments with thousands of employees. It's impossible to get everybody aligned if you don't have the customer perspective mapped out somewhere. Yeah, because then every company that becomes really big, it becomes siloed at some point. So I think also that's really important. I mean, back to your example of the French cooking company you mentioned in the beginning. If they don't have an end-to-end customer perspective, they would never be able to have that seamless experience to you,
exactly.
because it would get stuck somewhere in the process between countries or between teams or between whatever. Yeah? So I think it's of course, as a customer, it might look easy on the outside, but it's hard on the inside.
Hard to build up. And I think that was a perfect example because for me, what's really stuck to my mind, we are not only confirming the brand loyalty to the point of like Apple. I love the product because of the experience when I have this phone in my hands. But if my experience when I have an issue, because it was my fault, I let the phone fell in the floor, and I call to the customer service because I have an issue, and they say, "Good luck, it's not my problem." Overall, my experience with that product is compromised. And with Le Creuset that I mentioned, for me, is the pinnacle of what's really an rich experience. The moment that you go to the store, you can see the products, you buy, you get, it's very expensive, but you come home, you get the value out of the device itself. And when, I would say, bad things happen, and you need to get to the customer service line or a customer service support, and you see that consistently being delivered, no matter what, you say, now I am really value for that brand. And that, for me, is the peak what I want to achieve with SHV Energy, because as you highlighted, we are still have a two-sided organization. So if you're honest, when we do some very good progress in terms of our customer service, we digitalize, we have apps to help in AI to address or categorize your complaints or whatever, or to help in the solution. But in the end of the day, if my truck driver that will deliver the gas to your door does not bring the same smooth and enriched experience, nothing of that will be.
Yeah, or if he's rude to your customer,
exactly.
Then you mess it up at the end, basically. And I think every detail matters. So I think, that's a good point. But to be honest, we see very few companies that are not siloed in that sense. And like almost all big organizations are struggling with this because it is complicated. Alignment across all the different touch points and channels and departments, is a complicated task. But we believe in the whole customer journey perspective, because if you think from the customer, you're also less likely to miss anything that is important for the customer. And that perspective, it kind of secures that you don't forget things that are important to your customer. And then you basically take those things and streamline them in your operations or in your commercial offer. And that way, that triangle that you mentioned at the beginning, I think really you can turn that into a continuous improvement capability between those three dimensions, and then you're really enabling the organization to constantly improve the offering in line with the market needs, etc.
Absolutely.
Paulo, there are a lot of CX and customer journey experts kind of listening to these podcasts. Can you give maybe some advice to them in terms of like, hey, how should they convince their board members to make this an important aspect on their agenda? What can you give them a peek into the minds of the board members, and like, what is important to them? How do you sell this internally to get a CX global program?
I have observed over time, and I think I was also learning along the ways to convince myself to later on convince my colleagues in the boardroom. What I saw many companies, including my previous experience at Marco and even before in Carrefour, either we try to tackle the problem as an isolated initiative or a project that we say, okay, I would like to have the best customer experience ever possible without considering the total picture. I think the board members always are challenged to see the total picture. So I could have the best enriched customer experience ever, but if it is not translated in profitability in the end of the day, that's not going to pay the bills that we need to pay. And that costs even more because to enrich the experience, I need to deliver operationally much more than I am equipped to do. Also will not contribute. That comes back to the triangle itself. I would say the CX leaders itself, they should also be very attentive and careful to not fall in the trap to say this is so the holy grail and we need to put as a motto of the company experience, 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 and forgot the rest is the combination. So how customer experience as a North Star could contribute as long goes hand in hand with your necessity to be a profitable company because we are not NGOs, and the necessity to having a very operational, efficient, and effective organization because you cannot enrich the promise of a customer if you do not have an operational effectiveness organization. So you need to put that in perspective and never try to sell the CX as isolated.
A standalone thing. No, it needs to be very balanced because that's the trade-offs you're making in a boardroom, isn't it? It's a constant trade-off between operation, cost, revenue, profit, experience, loyalty, all those kind of things. Yeah. So, no, wonderful. Yeah.
This balance, Harold, I think is quite critical because if you look back what I mentioned, the magic triangle, I'm not promised to my customer they will have the best experience ever and no one else will give a better experience than us. No, but I will promise that I will reach as close to the 100% of the promise that I set to ourselves. What we can deliver as a customer experience to the best of our capacity in terms of the profitability needs that I have to organization, the operation access that I need, with that combination, what's the best level that I can achieve? And I will promise that to the customer. Yeah, be aware. Maybe there is a competitor that will give vouchers of a discount higher than us in the end of the day, and they say, "Oh, this experience is better." Yeah, but the overall journey will be better addressed for us if we go to the end to end.
Yeah, so no, what I really like is actually we're talking about customer centricity and not customer experience alone.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, being customer centric means that you do everything, all those things, operations, commercial, everything around
customer first.
From a customer perspective. And when you talk to a board, and not you, but I mean, I can imagine other people talking to a board member about customer experience, that it might easily be misunderstood as only a digital experience, for example.
Digital experience itself, which will be ultimately costing more because to improve, you need to get more service or whatever.
Yeah. It can only be seen as a cost.
Ability on the other hand.
And if you want to move away from the cost side of the balance to the growth side.
The growth opportunity, exactly. Yeah, it's really to move to the growth opportunity.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thanks, Paulo, for this. I think super insightful. One of the things that we always ask all of our guests is, do you have a recommendation for another guest that we should really, invite on this show?
Yeah, I have a colleague, and I also think through someone that's not within SHV or SHV family. Otherwise, it's too obvious. Although, also SHV has the beauty to have a multiple industry inside the family.
Yeah, we'll do that later.
Yeah, but I think the beauty that when I moved to Netherlands, one colleague that I've been contacted in this parallel industry, which is the beer company, which is Heineken, the CIO of Heineken in Yam. So I think he's a good example, and I see also in the values of the company itself. And I always used to say we have a very similar, I would say, business. He distributed the beer in some kegs, as they call it, or bottles. We distribute gas in our cylinders, in our bottles, and is always both company try to strive how we can be more customer centricity, and that goes beyond only the experience itself. And I think Heineken has a good story. I am a customer of Heineken, and I see also that in different elements, and I know that they are continuous trying to work hard to strive in that direction. So
Yeah,
he could.
and they're a retail brand. I mean, they're a brand that has to use the retail channels, so they don't always have their own channels either. So it's probably a very interesting conversation as well. So yeah.
They go direct to the consumers itself. It's their brand, but it's someone operate on their behalf actually. So are the bars, restaurants that is performing on their behalf. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure. In the B2B element, in B2B, of course, there's definitely a link there. So, yeah, hopefully your episode can inspire him to come on the show as well. So, thanks for that. Thanks for that.
I wanted to watch him if he accepts, because I would be tuned to see how Heineken is addressing this topic as well.
For sure, you can tune in when we get him on the show. You can tune in to hear his story. So,
absolutely,
Paulo, thank you so much, both for your leadership in SHV on this program. I think if I take one thing away from our collaboration so far, is that it's super important to have executive sponsorship and support at the top level, but especially combined with more practical, hands-on results in the teams. And I think we often say top-down doesn't work, bottom-up doesn't work, but the combination works. And I think you've been a fantastic example of that, of driving this on the agenda on a strategic level, while also enabling companies on a local level to actually show practical results, and then maybe leverage that to scale it in other countries. So thanks for that. Appreciate that. And it's very insightful for other people listening to this podcast, hopefully, to do the same. So thank you so much for being on the show, and looking forward to speak to you soon again.
Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to continue the collaboration that we have established. And as I used to say to you and your colleagues, I'm a humble learner in this journey. So I firmly believe that can impact our business, but I'm still learning a lot. And I just want to take on board more colleagues that are eager and open-minded to learn along the way. Wonderful. Because I think we are all learning the continuous improvement mindset through the customer centricity.
Well, that's a nice way to close. So thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
So that was another episode of the Promise Podcast, where we discuss effective ways for brands to deliver on their promise with a great customer experience and business impact. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a review. Check haroldlammers.com for more great content. Hope to see you again in the next episode. Until then, keep pushing to deliver on the promise.